Welcome back to Cross Rifle Outdoors. Today we're going to be doing varmint bullets for self-defense. Now, this one has some great areas on, do you get the penetration you need and will it do the job? Is there over penetration? But today we're going to do some testing on this, and we're going to shoot ballistics gelatin with 4 layers of denim. We'll shoot it at 20 yards out of a 16-inch AR-15. It's an Adams Arms upper, DPMS lower, all that fun stuff. The same AR I've used in all of my other videos. But now I have these from left to right in the order of what I think is going to be the most explosive and what's going to give us the most penetration and actually have a chance of getting through the block. And we'll go over that here in just a second as we start talking more about these rounds. So on the left is a 35 grain Dogtown bullet. Now these are all hand loads, and a huge shout out to Al. Al sent us the last 3 bullets. So if you know Al, thank him, and thank you, Al. You are one great American, sir. So back on track. The first one is a 34 grain Dogtown bullet. It's actually a bullet for my 22 Hornet that I load, and it's a pretty devastating bullet on small varmints. So I really think this one's going to explode. It's really light. It's going to be going really fast. I don't think it's going to penetrate. Up next is our 50 grain Frangible. Now, those of you who have watched the cloning the 5.56 Frangible, you've seen the kind of velocities that we're getting out of this. It's not made for personal defense. It's not made for penetration. In fact, it's made for the opposite. It's made to hit something hard and come apart to eliminate your chances of ricochet. So I don't see that one being quite a great performer, but I can see it dumping an awful lot of kinetic energy early. Next up is a Hornady 50 grain VMax. Now this bullet's kicking out there pretty fast. It's a bullet that's designed for rapid expansion. Note the polymer tip. And those of you who don't know what a ballistic tip is, or a polymer tip, the term that I'm more aware of is it's a ballistic tip, is you basically have a hollow point bullet and there's an air gap in that hollow point bullet, and they top that hollow point off with this polymer tip, and when that polymer hits something hard or hydrostatic resistance, it gets rapidly shoved into the bullet, causing just extremely fast expansion. Now when you get into the big game ballistic tip bullets, you see an awful lot of more controlled expansion. They do that by bonding the lead to the copper jacket, a thicker, heavier copper jacket. And when they first were coming out for big game hunting, they didn't leave that hollow space in between the polymer tip and the lead. So what would happen is you're basically shooting your game animal with a full metal jacket, and it would just punch right through. They've got it figured out. They're a dependable bullet now. We'll do some more ballistics gel testing with some of the other ballistic tips that I have that I hunt with. But let's keep moving forward. Up next is our 55 grain Hornady Spire point. Now this is a varmint bullet. Back in the day, we're talking 40s through the 70s, this was a go-to varmint bullet. It's a thin bullet, it's a thin jacketed bullet, which means it has some very rapid explosive expansion. And I've shot varmints with it. It's on par with some of the hollow points and ballistic tips that I've shot. Up next, we have the 62 grain Lehigh Defense Controlled Chaos. Now this one I'm really interested to see. Lehigh Defense makes some really great high quality products. They're great. I mean, you get what you pay for, and they are spendy. But again, this is a bullet that Al sent over to us to try, because he wanted to see what it did. And so I'm interested to see where it is. And I have it in the middle of the pack because it's kind of an unknown. I know what the first 4 bullets should do, and I'm just not sure. It's an all copper bullet, which means sure it's going to come apart, but there's going to be a good chunk of it that's going to hold together and continue moving through. Next, we have a Nosler Partition. And those who don't know what a Nosler Partition is about halfway down the bullet, there's another piece of copper. separates the lead core, and then there's a lead core. So the first, you know, 2/3 of the bullet, when it comes and hits that hard hydrostatic resistance, it's going to come apart very rapidly, dump a whole lot of kinetic energy right then and there. But that bottom base, that last third or so of the bullet, is designed to stay intact and continue penetrating through your target. So I know tons of people that run the Nosler Partitions in their hunting rifles with great success. They're a great bullet. They do what they're designed to do, but it'll be interesting to see what they do, you know, in this test. And last but definitely not least, this is the Nosler E-tip. It's a 55 grain all copper bullet. And again, we have the ballistic tip on it. So this one I think is going to hold together the best. I think that one's going to give us the most penetration. But it's going to be interesting to see what these bullets do. But what we're going to do is we're going to start off, we're going to shoot them through the chronograph, and we're going to get a velocity for these so you guys can see the velocities, and we'll call them out as we shoot them, and we'll shoot them in order. And then I'll get everything set up for the ballistics gel, and we'll shoot ballistics gel with our denim and kind of see what we're really getting. If these will work for self-defense, what you're comfortable with, we'll go through my opinion on it, and then we'll go from there. So let me reset up the camera for the chronograph, and we'll shoot these in order. Okay, up first is our 34 grain Dogtown bullet. .33-14. Our 50 grain Frangible is next. 27-17. Our 50 grain Hornady VMax. 27-18. Up next is our 55 grain Hornady Spire point. 25-88. Up next is our 62 grain Lehigh Defense Controlled Chaos. 29-66. Up next is our 60 grain Nosler Partition. 29-18. And last but not least, our 55 grain Nosler E-tip. 2600 flat. So I'll go get the ballistics gelatin set up, and we'll get shooting to see what these bullets will do. Okay, so you'll have to excuse the rock that I have on top of it. We got a slight breeze coming through that's wanting to take the denim away with it. But we have 4 layers of denim, where we've got the GoPro set up right above it. Well, let's go ahead and get back and get shooting, see what these bullets will do. Up first is our 35 grain Dogtown bullet. This is 10% gelatin from Clear Ballistics Gelatin. I'm not sponsored by them, that's just who I ordered it from. Let's go ahead and put our bullet in. Well, that was kind of impressive. It threw that rock. Let's go take a look. Okay, denim was on top. We did not get a whole lot of penetration, just kind of like we were expecting. To our farthest fragment, we are 5.5 inches of penetration. I mean, that is a very impressive permanent wound cavity. I wouldn't want to get shot with that. But again, not very much penetration. So let's set up and go shoot our next one. Up next is our 50 grain Frangible. All right, let's go take a look. All right, let's find out if the 50 grain Frangible is any good for self-defense. Sorry about the wind, folks. As you can see, we had a complete pass-through, hit the table and put a nick in it. That's quite impressive for something that is for shooting still that you'd never use for a home defense round. I was not expecting that. I was expecting everything in the first 6 or so to blow up right about here, and then we'd flip the block over and shoot the other direction, which we'll still do that, but let's see what these other bullets give us. Okay, up next is our 50 grain VMax. Let's go take a look. Okay, here we go for our 50 grain VMax. We got reasonable penetration, and we did exit out of the side there. It would have been a pretty small fragment. Looks like 10.5 inches is where it fragmented. That is an impressive wound track. Now granted, we don't have anything to represent bone or anything like that, but these are penetrating more than I really honestly thought that they would. Let's move on to our next one, the 55 grain soft point. Okay, next is our 55 grain soft point. Then we will flip the block around and shoot the other side. Okay, let's go take a look. All right, here we are with the 55 grain soft point. Look at that wound track. That went most of the way, and you can see the bullet is actually still right there. And we achieved 13 inches of penetration. It's quite interesting. I mean, these wound tracks are impressive and we're penetrating deeper than I really expected them to go. But let's reset and see what our next bullet does. Okay, now is time for the 62 grain Controlled Chaos by Lehigh Defense. And we did spin our block around. This is our unknown. Let's go take a look and see what the bullet did. Okay, we're just getting up, and the bullet hit a little more to the right than I wanted, but that is the Controlled Chaos. Now we actually lost it out of the gel. That's an impressive wound track. Let's measure our permanent wound cavity, just under 2 inches. And we lost the bullet at 11 inches. That is extremely impressive. The only other one that may have been bigger was our 34 grain, but it did not penetrate nowhere near as far. And I don't know if you can see it from this side, but this top track right here is our Frangible bullet, and it has all this black crap down in here. I couldn't see the wound track quite as good from the other side apparently, but you come over to here and it's a lot more prominent. And when you look at the dump, which I should have shown you this before. Wow, this is impressive. This is our Frangible bullet. You might have changed my mind on if Frangible bullets will work for personal protection. we're right under 2 inches at the widest point of that wound cavity. We got deep penetration. That's cool. That is cool. All right, let's shoot our next bullet. All right, up next is our 60 grain Nosler Partition. And honestly, I'm thinking this one's gonna go straight through. I don't really foresee it stopping in the gel at all. Wow, that seemed like it hit the gel a little bit harder. I don't know. Seemed like it jumped. It was more theatrical. Let's go take a look. Okay, as expected, we did go all the way through the gel. Entered here. I actually had to lay it onto the side so you could actually see the wound track. And as you can see, it's pretty wide, about 1 inch at the widest point, and it keeps continuing through. It's going to be really hard for you to see, but I'll kind of trace the bullet path with my finger. So coming here where we can see, it went around and then curved and came out right in the very edge of our block down here. So not all that surprised. Pretty impressive. That's pretty cool. All right, last but certainly not least, the 55 grain Nosler E-tip, the all copper bullet. Again, I think this one's gonna go all the way through like our Partition did, but let's see if I'm wrong. Put your comment down in the comments below on if you think this bullet will penetrate all of the Ballistic's gel. We're getting some serious elevation on that rock that's holding the denim on. Let's go take a look. Okay, I was wrong. I did have a quick look at this before you guys got to see it. I rolled the block onto the side so you could see its path. But I was wrong. There it is. But look how beautiful that bullet mushroom. That is, I mean, that's just a perfect, just flower petal. Very uniform expansion. I was wrong, not by much. Let's look and see how far our bullet made it. All right, 14 inches. Yeah, I mean, that's still quite a bit of penetration. Wow, this gel is pretty shot up now, but yeah, that was pretty dang cool. Okay, now for my thoughts on using varmint bullets for self-defense. First, let's talk about why we chose 20 yards instead of 5 or 10. And that's because I wanted to do more along the lines of, you know, someone in your yard, you know, shit hits the fan, you're at a longer range, you know, something to that effect. Now, would I say you load up a magazine of only these bullets and shoot them, you know, only for self-defense? No. Nope. That is not what I would go with. What my suggestion is, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, I guarantee it, because a lot of people won't like this, is I alternate in my magazine between a Frangible, not necessarily the Frangible, which it's looking like after this video, yeah, it's going to be those Frangible bullets. But, you know, before it was going to be the 55 grain soft point, which still performed fairly well. And the reason for it is you don't know where you're going to hit. If you hit someone in the arm, you know, that's pointing a gun at you, and, you know, that's why the FBI has their penetration as deep as they do, just so that way if it hits in the arm, it's going to travel into a vital. Well, you hit someone in the arm with one of these, you know, frangible explosive varmint bullets, it's going to do a shitload of damage to their arm, and you got arteries in your arm. I mean, it doesn't take very long for someone to bleed out, but it could stall them enough to get a better vital shot in. Now, the reason why I say something like a full metal jacket and then an explosive type of bullet, something that is designed to come apart, is You know, if you're shooting through car door, you got someone doing a drive-by, you know, let's say zombie apocalypse, you got these raiders coming after you. So this is probably the only way we can approach it, so that way YouTube doesn't hate us. But if you're shooting at the car, through the car door or the glass, these bullets are not going to perform that well. They're not going to get through. But every other shot, you've got, you know, either XM193 or an M855 to help you get through the door to your target. Now, if it's just someone with soft, you know, let's say they're not wearing any body armor at all, and this raider is coming to attack you and yours for your, we'll just say, resources. You know, that full metal jacket, either M855 or XM193, is going to be going so fast that it's just going to poke a hole straight through, and it's not going to dump very much kinetic energy. And then you're waiting on blood loss to kill them. So by alternating your rounds on someone without wearing any armor, every other shot you have a bullet that is going to deliver an extremely high amount of kinetic energy. Yes, it may not be that deep into the body, but you know, let's take this 34 grain bullet for example. It penetrated what, 5.5 inches? Well, I'm a scrawny guy. I weigh in right around 140 pounds. You know, 5.5 inches and you're almost through my body. You know, you got this big heavy set person, you're not going to have the penetration, but there's still a good chance that you're going to get the kinetic dump that you're looking for. Now, if you have something that will go through this block or, you know, towards the tail end, let's say we get 12 inches of penetration, I think that'd be a great bullet. You still have the chance of going all the way through, getting full penetration, but yet dumping a lot of kinetic energy where it needs to be to save your life. That's my personal take on it. When I load my magazines, one round is for penetration, the next round is for kinetic energy, and it alternates. Because if you're going to shoot someone, most real world situations, you're not shooting them once, you're not really shooting them twice, you're probably shooting them 3 or 4 times to ensure that that threat is gone. So if you shoot a raider 4 times, you know, 2 of them are just going to poke holes right in and out, which is still going to do damage, and you're still going to have blood loss, but the other 2 dump a lot of kinetic energy. Let's say they don't go all the way through and they dump it right in the middle of the body. Well, that person is not going to make it very long. And so that is my opinion. That's how I load my magazines for self-defense, is penetration and then an expansion bullet. Now, after seeing these results, it's going to be that 50 grain Frangible. I was not expecting that. I actually expected it to only go maybe 8 inches into the block, and in the first 4, it was going to dump everything. I was extremely surprised at its results, and after doing this test, that's how I'm going to load it. So again, you know, we've got a penetrating round, then an expanding, and then a penetrating. So, you know, no matter what your situation you're in, every other shot, you have a bullet for it. You don't have to run through and shoot 5 rounds of one, and then you got to shoot 5 rounds of the other to get back. They're both going to do damage. They're both going to get the job done. That's my opinion. Thank you for tuning in and watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun and really interesting for me to make. It was a real eye-opener. I've seen other videos like this, and I didn't really like how they presented it, so I decided I was going to do it myself with a little different spin on it. But if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share it to your friends. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.